Yeah, what's up, guys? Been a minute. Been doing all sorts of crazy stuff lately. Just to give you an update, I haven't really done a Twitch stream in a while or done anything on YouTube in a minute. So I kind of wanted to change that. I lost motivation for a while, but I'm kind of feeling the itch to start making content again. So I want to come back slowly, little by little. I'm going to start putting out more content. And today I wanted to talk about a few things. Basically, with this series, I want to just talk about events and talk about general stuff in FGC or Smash, and give my opinions on those. So today, I wanted to talk about the event that happened last weekend, which was Thunder Smash. Some of you might have heard of it. It was the event with the ridiculous pot bonus. I think first place walked away with 20,000. I think the overall pot was 28,000, and that's a guaranteed pot, regardless of entrance or anything. So that was pretty dope. But there's a lot of like pros and cons to this type of event. The event itself, a lot of stuff went down. A lot of people were complaining on Twitter about stuff. So I kind of wanted to give my input on that and why I think large pot events are good or bad for the community or for the event itself. So first off, I thought the like as a competitor, money is always really dope. Obviously, like money is gonna be what can always bring top players, get a lot of eyes on your event, or get top players to your event and bring a lot of eyes to your event, just because it's a shitload of money, right? Like, who doesn't love seeing that? Who doesn't love seeing like a $10,000 money match at the end of a tournament? Like, that's pretty dope. Um, that's from a competitor standpoint. Like, I obviously like I'm not gonna say no if I'm competing for a $20,000 pot. Like, I'm never gonna say no as a competitor. But I think what a lot of the feedback that people had was more so about how that money can be used better, right? Because just because you have a lot of money in your event doesn't mean it's going to be a good event. Let's be real with it. Like, there's a lot of things that go on, a lot of things that need to be prepared for, and a lot of things that need to happen before you can make your event successful. So I was looking up viewership for a couple different events. I think this event averaged around 20,000 viewers according to like my quick Google search. It was around 20K, which is pretty good. It's not bad. A little low, honestly, for a ultimate event, especially since ultimate's like really popping right now. A lot of like smaller streams will get 20K. But honestly, it's not too bad. It was streamed on BG Bootcamp, which is the like biggest Smash channel, so of course it's gonna get viewership no matter what. But I was comparing it to a couple different events, and Come to Papa 3 was like a major that happened. I'm not sure if it was last week or 2 weeks ago, but that event averaged around 10K viewers. So this definitely had more viewership than that, and I think that event had more people there. Not even think. I'm pretty positive it had more people there, had more competition. Um, so I mean that's double the viewership, so that's pretty dope. I'm not sure how many entrants Come to Papa had, but either way, I mean, that just kind of shows you that people will watch the event if there's stuff on the line or if there's hype or storylines coming to it, right? The one thing that did really blow for the tournament was the amount of entrants it had. So I'm looking here. I have my little notepad up. Um, the tournament, 28,000, mind you, $28,000. All right, it had 82 entrants, which is I like in my opinion as a tournament organizer, like I would not be happy with that, right? Like I don't know who would be. I don't know if maybe they are, maybe they're being optimistic about it. I think 82 entrants is kind of bad, very bad, just super bad for a $28,000 tournament. And that's just real quick, like that's just talking $28,000 into the pot. Like that's not including what they paid all sorts of people to go to the event. So I know all the commentators got paid, influencers that Hungry Box there. So like that's not cheap. I don't know the exact amount they got paid, but that's not going to be cheap. They're paying for flights, hotel, and probably a day rate, which is not cheap. So I'm thinking the event had to be 35 to 40K. That's not we're not taking into account like what they had to pay production, what they had to pay the camera people, they had to pay the streamers. Like we're not talking any of that stuff, right? So I'm just kind of assuming 28K in the pot, flying everyone out. It's probably I don't know. I'd say 35 to 40K just for that kind of stuff. So getting 82 entrants, that really blows in terms of what you're putting out, right? Like that sucks. Viewership again, like averaging 20K. I think the peak was around 40,000. That's not like too bad, But when you compare it to Pound, which just happened like 2 or 3 weeks ago. I forget when it was. It was a few weeks back. I'm horrible. I went to that tournament. I actually don't remember when it was. It was a few weeks back. But Pound, I had it here. Um, Pound had 42,000 peak. Oh wait, I had the peak for Thunder wrong. It wasn't 42,000 peak. That was for Pound. Pound peaked at 42,000 for Ultimate, which is double what Thunder Smash had as an average. I didn't get the average for Pound. And then it peaked at 79,000. Pound 2019 peaked 79,000 for Melee, which is pretty fucking ridiculous. That tournament was hype, obviously. There was a lot of stuff. And they're very different tournaments, too. I'm not saying it's a completely fair comparison. I'm just saying that it's a lot of money to throw in for not that big of results, right? Um, like when you're throwing in that much money, you expect people to come to your event. You expect everybody to be watching, or you want that, right? But of course, they're different events. Pound has a history. Like it's been around for like shit, like 8 iterations, right? So it has history. Of course, there was like a lot more players there. There's a lot more of a storyline, especially for Melee. You know, you had Mango coming in from winners. He had a crazy run. The crab thing with Hungry Box, all sorts of shit. So people wanted to watch. Um, so it's not a fair comparison necessarily, but I'm just saying, if I was a TO and I put 28K of my own money into it, I would not be happy. Um, so 82 entrants for that, and then like there's two parts of what's going on, right? So they put a shitload of money in. 82 people went, and that's not including the people they paid to fly out. I don't know how many people they flew out. I think it's at least 10 to 20 or 10 to 15 probably. Um, so 70 organic maybe people that actually went to the event. I think they were charging something like $75 for a venue fee, which like obviously that's a shitload of money. That's not fun to pay, especially as a local. When I pay $75 for a tournament, I am expecting the best of the best event, right? Even me as a competitor, someone who's been doing this for like 10 years, like this is my career. Paying $75 sucks unless the event is like the event better be super dope to make that happen, right? So I go to Genesis and I'm paying 75. I always register late, so I always end up paying like $100 for for my registration at every tournament because I'm an idiot. But I'm expecting like a Genesis quality event where they have a sick convention center, a sick venue. They have 24-hour venue. A lot of these events have 24-hour venues, so you can just stay there the entire time if you wanted to. I'm expecting security. Maybe they had security. I'm just expecting like a level of quality from the overall event, and I'm not talking only production. I'm talking things to do outside of that, and that's the most important part. And I guess I can get into that more when we're talking about allocating money, but just for the amount to go, like if I was a local and I wasn't necessarily seriously thinking I could win the tournament, I probably would, or make money from the event, I probably would not want to pay $75 for a 1-day tournament. I'm pretty sure it was a 1-day tournament. Um, unless I'm thinking I'm gonna win, right? Like for me, like if there was a local in SoCal, like yeah, I would pay that because of the chance to potentially win that. But if I was somebody who was gonna go 2-2 or even like 3-2, somebody who's not gonna get very far in the tournament, I probably wouldn't want to pay that at all. So I think that's definitely one of the reasons that it was so low. I think that's probably the main reason why the entrants were so low. It's just a shitload of money for kids to pay when they don't have a chance of winning. And that's kind of the big issue with the tournament, which is you put so much money into the pot that the only people you're really catering to when you're charging that much of a venue fee or an entrance fee is you're catering to the top players. And top players are the minority in the community, right? Most people don't get far in bracket. Most people don't get top 25. Like, I think it's, if I'm not wrong, I might be wrong. I'm pretty sure how brackets work is if you go 0-2, that's half the tournament. Half the tournament goes 0-2. 50% of your people go 0-2. I'm pretty sure, my bracket theory is a little rusty. I haven't TO'd in a while, but I'm pretty sure that's how it works. So, like, that's just so horrible. You can't only have money as a incentive for people to come. And I think that's the other part, like that combined with the venue fee is why people don't want or didn't attend the event. Things that can be done better are like things like side events, longer venue, more friendlies, all sorts of that kind of shit, right? Like all things that people who don't necessarily only care about the competition want to do. Artist alley, that kind of stuff. Extra things that you can go do and still continue to have fun while the tournament revolves around the game. Ladders, also smash ladders, all sorts of that kind of stuff. Those types of events are what makes the tournament get entrance. Again, like I think money can bring in top players, and I think the kind of mindset they had was that if we pay money to influencers and top players and get all this hype from the top end, then people will tune in and people will want to go to the event. But this kind of shows that while 20K average is pretty good, Pound having way more than that just shows that that's not everything. It's not only about having top players or influencers go to your event and promote your event. It's about the overall experience of the event, right? Like that's only half of it. It's a combination of everything. And I wanted to compare that to another event that happened the same day in SoCal, same region, different game, which is the Melee Arcadian, the National Melee Arcadian, which happened on Sunday. It was at Esports Arena. It was streamed on Melee Every Day, which is a much smaller channel, and to be honest, the viewership was not as good. I think it was like, I actually don't know. I didn't pull up the numbers, but I remember watching the stream, and it was around a couple thousand or maybe 5,000 max. Like, I don't remember seeing it higher than that. So, like, that's kind of, that's the trade-off, I guess, in a way. It didn't have a lot of money in it, and the Arcadian is a very different type of event, right? Arcadians are pretty much like the unranked players try to compete for a spot, or like they're trying to compete amongst themselves to see who's the best of the unranked players. So it's a very different type of event where the other events just like the best of the best competing for the most money. This was just the unranked players competing to get a chance in the spotlight. It got a lot less viewership, but the entrants were way more, right? This is the National Melee Arcadian. These are players who aren't sponsored necessarily. Most of them are not, right? They're not getting money from organizations to go to the event. They're funding it out of their own pockets or their own communities. They're flying them out to the event. They don't have anybody paying for their flights, but it got 200 entrants. It got 206. So around like 2.5 times the entrance. Venue fee was a lot cheaper. All sorts of stuff. A lot of reasons for that. Obviously, people want to compete and get a chance in the spotlight. But that is kind of like, it's just such a different type of event. But it got so many more entrants, but not as many viewers. A lot of reasons for that. Not enough viewership. It was a smaller channel. Melee Every Day is one of the bigger Melee channels, but it's still small compared to VGBC. And it didn't quite have the hype of a $28,000 pop bonus. So it's just kind of a very different event. But the entrance is what matters. And I think long term, especially, entrance is what matters. And the type of event that you're hosting for your entries and spectators. I used to, if you guys don't know this, like I used to TO for a long time. I TO'd for I don't know how many years, a shitload of time. Like since I like almost started Melee, I used to TO in my apartment, and then when I played Brawl, I TO'd in my apartment again, and then we eventually got a game store and we moved on to bigger venues and stuff. But the number one thing that's the most important, and I used to say this and think this, is like it's so easy to get new players to come to your event. Like it's very easy to get, or not easy, but like that it's a lot easier to get them to come to your event for the first time. You can offer discounts. I did all sorts of shit to get people in. But the hard part is retention and getting those people to stay. So that's going to be the number one thing, right? It's easier to get newer players there at times, but getting them to stay is so fucking hard. And how you get them to stay is by offering a good experience, right? Like I was saying, like Smash Ladders, all sorts of side events, different things that you can do for newer players and foster their growth is ultimately going to be the best for the community because they're going to stay if they have a good time. The people are nice, the people are cool, they're going to stay, they're going to enjoy themselves, and they'll keep coming back. Versus, let's say it was somebody's first tournament, they just paid $75 for a venue fee, they go 0-2, they have nothing else to do, and now they're just kind of watching and sitting around. They're probably not going to want to return if they're not having a good time. They're kind of bored, right? So I guess like the I would say the Melee Arcadian, especially as an Arcadian where it's just showing it's showcasing the up and comers, like that kind of event is a lot better for the community. It's a lot better of a experience for the people who are going than an event that's just cater to top players only. And this is coming from a top player, so like I'm being straight up with you guys. Um, I think that's really really important to think about as an org or as somebody who's TOing, right? It's just it's so important to make everybody or sorry, it's so important to make the majority of players, like I said, the top players are minority. It's so important to make them happy and keep them coming back. Um, so I don't know. In terms of that stuff, it's like money is cool, right? Like I would love to walk away with 20K for a tournament. I'm not denying that. I don't think there's any player who would say they wouldn't love to do that. Um, but I guess the real question is the money worth it? Is it worth to throw in 30 grand into a tournament just for your pot and influencers to get there? And I think the answer to me feels like it's no, and I think most people will say that. Like the answer is clearly no. I think people were insulted too because like a lot of times at events, at smaller events, like staff doesn't get paid or production doesn't get paid or the commentators get paid. Like sometimes they barely get paid. Sometimes they just get paid a flight. Sometimes not even that. Like one of my roommates is commentary, and he said for a year, an entire year, he traveled out of his own pocket or just getting a flight from the event and just did it for free. And it paid off eventually. He's one of the most popular commentators, but that's kind of the climate for a lot of that. So a lot of people weren't like pissed that they just threw out so much money into $28,000 for first or $28,000 into the pot because so many other people or there's so many better ways to budget the money. I think that flying out commentators and influencers, I'm glad everyone got paid. Of course, I'm glad the commentators got paid. Like that's super dope, and I'm glad they got a paycheck for that. But I feel like that's half of it. I feel like that's the money spent there is only half of it. Like they came from the mindset. The Thunder Studios probably came from the mindset of if we fly out the influencers, people will watch because they're there and they're going to be tweeting about it, and we can have them tweet and promote the event. They'll be our promotion. We don't need to do any sort of promotion. They're going to be our main promotion. But I feel like that's only half of the story because the other half is getting people to your event, like I was saying. Getting people to your event is fucking it's trash day. Getting people to your event is also the other half of it, and that's the big problem. It's like you get them there, and then the people at the event are also going to be talking about the event. They're going to be tweeting about it, and they're going to be building your brand. They're going to be building your legacy for you, right? Getting those people there is going to make it so they're going to start telling all their friends, like, yo, it was really dope. You guys should come now, or you guys should come next time. But with low entrance and you're not catering to them, they're not going to have a good experience. They're not going to talk about how dope of an event it was. They're just going to, either be negative or just be silent about it. So is it worth it? I think it's worth it to fly out influencers and commentators, and maybe some sort of pop bonus. I think 20K is overkill, to be honest. Like with $20,000, someone did the math, and they're like, yo, $28,000 in the pot at, I saw it in Twitch chat. I forgot exactly what it was. I'm not going to do the math right now. But $28,000 into the pot with 82 entrants was something like $300 for every entrant if they wanted, right? Obviously, you're not going to do that. It's not how tournaments work. But with that money, like let's say instead of having 20,000 for first, let's say they did 10,000 for first. I don't think with a $10,000 pot that the viewership would be much less than it was, to be honest. Maybe a little bit less, but not much less. Not enough to. The average 20K viewers, they paid 20,000 at first. They paid $1 per view, right? It's basically the way I was joking about it earlier. But if let's say you use $10,000 and you just flew out a shitload of players, like that kind of experience is doper, right? Instead of having 80 entrants, you get 10K. How much is an average flight? I'm gonna do the math right now. Let's say you get 10K, and you fly out. Oh no, let's say the average flight is $500. It's not. It's like 300. But let's say 500. Let's say you get them, a hotel, and they split it with someone else. You can have an extra 20 players, an extra 20 of the top 10, or like, and I think that, or an extra 20 players from the top echelon of players, and I think that would bring more hype than the extra 10,000 would have been in the pot, or that kind of shit. I mean, I'm just experimenting with ways you can do it, but I think spending that money better in terms of like getting a better experience for the players who are going. Maybe even spend that 10K on. Why didn't they do this actually? What if they spent that 10K on free entry fee? Right? What if they instead of paying 75,000 or 75,000? What if instead of paying $75, they just gave free venue fee to the first How much would it be? 100 people? 100 times 75? Yeah. What if the first 100 people to register, or like some shit? They could just. There's so many ways to do it, right? They could just give free venue fee, get a shitload of people there, maybe take the L on a few thousand, and then just get them there and have people have a good event, and then they're gonna want to come back. Like, there's all sorts of shit they can do. So the money into the pot, like on my end, definitely was not worth it. I think it's just kind of overkill. Like 10K would have got the same amount. You probably would have had the same amount of people go, and spend that money on getting more, or getting a better experience for newer players, or getting more people to your event. I think that's the number one takeaway for me in terms of like, is to answer the question, like, is money in the pot worth it? Like, that's my number one takeaway. Because it definitely builds, the money builds hype, but it's not going to be that much more. 10K, 20K, like the viewers don't care that much. Maybe they do. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm pretty positive that's not going to make that much of an effect. Like, spending 10K on getting all of the top 20 out there, or whatever it was, like, that's way more hype than IMO anyway, than just a couple more thousand in the pot. So I don't know. I guess that's kind of like my take on it. I think that it was kind of a waste of money. I think that they could have definitely used it better. I think the overall event, like, that's just talking about the money itself. Like, there was some stuff with production that kind of blew. Everybody that was there was talking about how good production was, but for a while, at least when I was watching early on, the stream was super choppy. Probably an internet problem. But still, it's just like, you're spending so much money into the event, like, you expect everything to be perfect, or you want everything to go perfectly. Like, the stream was super choppy. Like, Ludwig posted a funny clip. The stream assets were bad. Like, the layout was horrible. Just shit like that, which is just, it's so easy to fix, right? Especially when the main people you're catering to are top players and viewers at home. Like, you want the viewership to be higher. Just having those little things go right is just so important, and it's just such an easy fix considering how much you're paying already. But yeah, I mean, that's just kind of my take on it. I don't know what you guys think. I imagine the consensus is probably something around there. But it's just, I don't know, it's just kind of obvious. Like, maybe it's obvious to me because I've been around so long, but it's just so important to foster growth and, like, build a legacy for your tournament. And that starts by helping out the newer players and the newcomers. And I always say that, like, newcomers are the most important people to have at your tournament and to take care of. Like, top players are the minority. Like, we are a small group of people compared to the thousands that go to tournaments regularly, just to have fun at the event, right? So I don't know. That's my take on it. Let me know what you guys think. I'm curious. I imagine that consensus is going to be. I imagine most people won't say it was worth it, to be honest. But who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. If they come back, they said they're going to have another event. It's going to be an Arcadian event, actually, so it'll be interesting to see who shows up. I feel like more people will show up just because it's a new game and it's an Arcadian. But it'll be interesting to watch, and it'll be interesting to see and see how that pans out. But yeah, that's my thoughts. I'll be doing these more often. I want to, like, do this like once a week or something and pick different topics and have fun with this kind of thing. Like, this is stuff I talk about with my friends already, so I feel like talking about it on video is like a good outlet for me, just because I can kind of brainstorm my thoughts. Sorry if it wasn't as smooth as I thought it was. Like, this is my first time doing this, and like I said, there's gonna be like low to no editing on this. So I was a little nervous at first, but yeah, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. I'll be back. I think next topic I want to do is I want to talk about tournament results, how important those are. Tournament results versus personality. Like, that's a big topic that people talk about, or like people are always curious in. There's always debates. Like, they say, like, Smash Ultimate players have no personality and blah 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 blah. People always say that shit. I don't think that's true, but I think it's a good topic to talk about, and I'll probably do that for my next video. But I'll be dishing these out like once a week, and hopefully be doing more stuff. I definitely want to start changing the habits I have of not making content, just because I have so much fun with it. I have so much fun with making stuff, and it's the thing that sucks for me is just the planning of something. So these freeform, like, or when I do like melee videos, like, I hate editing and I hate doing all that shit. So these freeform videos kind of work better for me. But I'll see you guys soon. Thanks for tuning in. Let me know what you think. Peace.